This week on The Real Housewives of Potomac.
Problem with you is that there is a problem with you. Everybody who has seen you has called you a liar. I've given you the benefit of the doubt. You thought I was foolish. Don't let this accent fool you.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be recapping the new episode of The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 10, Episode 8. Let's get right into this. Oh my, you guys, this season 10 is probably one of the best Potomac seasons of all time. I'm actually for real when I say that. We're 8 episodes in and we haven't had a single bad episode. Every episode has just been drama, and this was a very good episode. Definitely not short of any drama. So the episode starts where we left off last week. All of the women are at an event for the Pride Month, and my girl, Mo'Nique, made her entrance. Now, Mo'Nique's been here for less than 5 minutes. They're all together, and Kay, just out of nowhere, says to Mo'Nique, who she doesn't even know, by the way, "Oh, Chris is your ex-husband, right?" She was dating Chris. And then she points to Stacy. And Mo'Nique's like, "Well, we've been divorced for 2 years. Like, I would expect that he would date." Listen, Kay wanted to create an issue with Stacy and Mo'Nique right away, but it felt very flat, and it felt very, you're doing too much type of thing. And I don't really even think Mo'Nique cares. It was really whack for Kay to bring that up, but it doesn't end there for Stacy just yet, because Ashley, instead of having fun at this event that she wanted everyone to come to, wants to talk to Stacy about something. And she says to her, "Well, it feels very weird to me, Stacy, that you named your cannabis business a Nigerian word." And Gizelle says to Stacy, "Are you Nigerian?" Stacy's like, "Well, yeah, I have Nigerian ancestry. I took a DNA test." And the women begin to grill her. "Oh, it feels like a money grab. Why are you doing this?" And then Angel says, "Stacy, what about the social justice component of your business? Are you going to do anything about that?" And then Stacy's like, "Anyway, we can move on." And Angel says, "Don't be rude. I'm just asking you a question." But honestly, I'm with Stacy on this one. They were doing too much. They then get going. Ashley says that they're going to get on a GNA float. GNA, the non-existent clothing brand, non-existent lifestyle brand, joggers. What? But anyway, they get on this float and the parade starts, and they had lots of fun up there on the float. And then after the parade, they go to have lunch. Gizelle says to Mo'Nique, "I didn't expect to see you here. I didn't really have any expectations, but your energy and your vibe have been very refreshing." And Mo'Nique says, "Thank you. Same to you." Wendy then says to Mo'Nique, "Last time we saw you, your life was very different. What happened with you and Chris? Because when I came into this group, you guys had such a good relationship." And Mo'Nique's like, "Image. We had a good image." Oh. Mo'Nique says that she wasn't being loved properly. That was hard to hear. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but Chris always came across as if he adored her. So yeah, hearing her say that was pretty shocking. I never watched Love and Marriage DC, so I don't know what that was about, but I was like, wow, I can't believe she was saying that. Mo'Nique says to Gizelle, "Do you remember when we took that trip to France and you told me that when a woman steps into the limelight, it can make her husband resent her?" And Giselle's like, "Yeah, I remember." So Mo'Nique says that's kind of what was going on in her situation. Tia also asks Mo'Nique, "If you don't mind me asking, what was the straw that broke the camel's back?" And Mo'Nique says, "Well, every time he wanted something, he would be very nice. And then he would get it and then go back to the way he was." So she wanted to put the theory to the test. And one night she gave it to him. She slept with him. And she says that it was almost like nothing afterwards. And in that moment, she felt like a piece of meat, just being used. So the next day, that's when she said to him, "You will never enter me again." Pretty explicit, but yeah, that's what she said. She also says that looking back, this group actually added years into her marriage, which again, super shocking because the last time we saw her in season 5 reunion, they were so united about defending their marriage and their family. So I don't know. I love Mo'Nique, but I would also like to hear Chris's side for sure. Okay, so that was pretty much it for this scene. And it's then another day, and Angel and her husband, Bobby, are looking for houses. They want to be bi-coastal, so they want to have their home they already have a home in Colorado, but they also want to have one in the DMV area. They've seen many houses. I will say the house that they saw in this particular scene looked very good, very nice. She did say that it took them 4 years to find their Colorado home. So at the pace they're going, it's going to be a long time before they get a house here. Angel then takes some time to talk to her husband about the trip that she just went on with the ladies. She opens up how she didn't like that Gizelle called her a catfish, and she also didn't like that Wendy seemed to be joining in, almost kind of like enjoying Gizelle saying this to her, which is understandable, I think. So then we see Gizelle, Ashley, Tia, and Kay meet up for lunch. Gizelle is very happy because her and Robyn's podcast, Reasonably Shady, has reached 1 million downloads. Okay, I support it. You know, I don't listen to their podcast, but I gotta give them credit because that's definitely a big deal, 1 million downloads. And, you know, they are really good at with their consistency. Like, they've been consistent all these years, so good for them. She's gonna have a party to celebrate this. Okay, but here's the tea. So Kay says that after the Pride event, Cookie called her. Cookie is Kieran's good friend. Kay was calling her to see how Kieran was doing or whatever. But during the call, Cookie says to Kay, "Hold on, Kay, Chris Samuels is calling me. Give me 1 second." And then after that, Cookie comes back on the line, and Cookie says to Kay, Chris is very upset. He heard that Mo'Nique is going around saying that all he did was want to have sex with her and treated her like a piece of meat. So this is kind of like concerning because this is what the ladies just talked about at the Pride lunch. Who told Chris this already? So according to Cookie and according to Kay, it was Stacy. According to them, right after the lunch, Stacy called Chris to tell him everything that Mo'Nique had just said about him. Ooh. So Kay is telling the ladies at this lunch this tea, and none of them, these women here don't even like Stacy anyway, but they're really using this against her. Like, even Giselle's like, oh, how dare she? She took something from, like, a sister circle moment. I was like, now, Gizelle, I know you're messy ass ain't talking about how dare she, but, yeah, apparently that's what that was. But you know how I said that Giselle's having a party for Reasonably Shady? Well, she says that Cookie will definitely be there. Ooh. Okay, so then moving on, Pam Oliver, aka Wendy, meets with Mo'Nique for lunch. Wendy says that it sucks that they never really got to know each other. Now, I wonder what Candiace feels with seeing Wendy and Mo'Nique interact. Because we know Candiace still ain't gone over that. Like, she still does not like Mo'Nique at all. So I wonder what she thinks that Wendy is now friends with, like, her two biggest enemies, Mo'Nique and Gizelle. But anyway, here at this lunch, they're being very nice to each other. Mo'Nique asks Wendy how is her and Giselle's relationship now these days, and Wendy says that they're really good. Like, she even considers her a friend at this point. Wendy says, what about Karen? Wendy's like, well, the last time I saw Karen, Stacy had just dropped a bomb telling me that Karen was talking about me behind my back negatively. And she didn't attend the reunion, and on the video that she did send, she thanked everybody but me. But she knows that some of the ladies have been getting updates about Karen through her friend Cookie. And when Wendy mentions Cookie, Mo'Nique makes like a face like, oh. And she says, well, Cookie met Karen through me, but I don't talk to her at all anymore. Wendy says, well, she's best friends with Gizelle now. Mo'Nique says that she actually met Cookie back in 2017. She calls Cookie a liar and a demonic entity. Ooh. She says that she will stay away from that one. Sounds like Cookie is messy. Wendy says to Mo'Nique also, oh, at the Pride event you met the new girls. And Mo'Nique says, yes, they seemed a little passive. So then Wendy explains or describes them a little bit better to Mo'Nique. I don't think Mo'Nique has like the best first impression about Stacy though. because she did make a comment to Wendy that maybe Stacy wanted to be her. Speaking of which, in the next scene, we see Stacy with her ex-husband, Thea, or I think it's Themo. She's happy that she's not going through the drought she was going through when she was with TJ. But it was nice because they took their daughter Arabella to her swimming practice. Now, Stacy also invited Tia. She says that Tia felt like the safest person to be the first to meet Themo. So Tia gets there, very nice, very bubbly as she is. Tia wants to have like a triple date type of thing with her husband, Wendy, Eddie, Stacy, and Themo. But he says that he's actually leaving tomorrow, so he wouldn't be able to go. I will say Themo was a little awkward. Maybe he doesn't like the cameras. Maybe he was too aware that this was being filmed. I don't know, but he was acting a little strange. And then Tia asks Stacy what she thought about meeting Mo'Nique. And Stacy's like, oh yeah, I'd like to get to know her a little better. And Tia's like, yeah, she shared a lot of personal things. And Tia starts to be like a little bit of like a detective, trying to very subtly ask Stacy, like, oh, well, how did you meet Chris? And has he ever told you anything about his divorce? And then Tia says that it's a shame that Themo won't be able to attend Giselle's party. And Stacy says, well, you know what? I don't think he's ready to meet all the ladies, and I'll introduce him to everyone when Gizelle introduces her boyfriend. How about that? So then we see Gizelle go to the venue where the party will be at. It's nice that her daughter Grace is helping organize the party. Now, the party is to celebrate Reasonably Shady, but the co-host of Reasonably Shady, Robyn Dixon, is not going. And I appreciated Giselle's honesty in her confessional. She broke the fourth wall and straight up told us that Robyn didn't want to be on the show because she was fired, basically. Her in her last season, like, she just had a negative experience, which is like, Robyn, you probably wouldn't even have the podcast if you weren't on the show. Like, Robyn was on the show for 8 years. That's a very long time. So, I don't know. Robyn was weird for that. Now, let me tell you something about Robyn. So, Robyn was at BravoCon, and I attended one of the panels that she was on for the Traders. So, other Bravo celebrities that have been on the Traders were all on this panel. And then it was time for questions. And there was a guy there that asked her if she regrets revealing about what Juan did in that hotel with that Canada girl on her podcast, because that is eventually what caused her to be fired. And Robyn was so, like, the way I get it. I mean, obviously she doesn't want to talk about that, but she was like, we're here to talk about traders. I'm not going to answer that. We're here to talk about traders. And every time anybody would ask her anything that about her or what she's doing, she would be like, let's keep it traders related. And it got to the point where the host actually had to say to her, well, I was just told that anyone can actually ask anything. So yeah, which was so awkward, but I wanted to I kind of just wanted to include that because I don't know. All right, so moving along, the Osefos have the double date with Tia and her husband. It's the first time that the husbands are meeting each other, and that they're also meeting like the other women. So it's the first time Eddie was meeting Tia, and the first time that Tia's husband was meeting Wendy. So they're having dinner. They're asking each other questions like, how long have you been married? When did y'all meet each other? They also have that. Well, at least Wendy, Eddie, and Tia have that bond of being culturally Nigerian. I gotta say, I really enjoy Tia and her confessionals, and I'm really, really thinking she's a great addition. So, again, they're getting to know each other. Tia then says, I had invited Stacy and her husband to come today as well, but he couldn't. He's out of the country, apparently. And Wendy's like, oh. And then Tia's like, yeah, she did actually say that out of everyone, she felt like I was the safest for Themo to meet first. And that makes Wendy feel some type of way, so she gets her phone out and calls Stacy directly. And Stacy picks up, and Wendy says to Stacy, why didn't you come on this triple date? And Stacy says, well, Themo is not ready for such a big introduction. He's trying to get comfortable. No, she's on speaker. And Tia says, well, I was just telling Wendy that the reason he's not here is because he's out of town. And Stacy's like, oh yeah, he is. Wendy says to Stacy, well, Tia just also told me that you said that she was the safest person for him to meet first. And I feel like that's not really being a good friend to me. So then Stacy says through the phone, Tia, I really don't appreciate you causing friction with me and Wendy. And then Tia says, no, darling, you're causing friction with yourself because you can't keep up with your stories. Stacy says, well, Wendy, I'm sorry. I regret introducing Themo to Tia first. You are who I am closest with in the group. So that was awkward, but I'm kind of with Tia on this. Her saying this to Wendy I don't think there was any malice. She kind of just, because that is what Stacy said. Stacy did say that she thought Tia was the safest person for her to introduce Themo to. And Tia just casually repeated it. So for Stacy to be like, oh, you're trying to cause friction. No, she's not. And we'll get towards the end. I'll have more commentary on Stacy. So yeah. So then after that phone call, Tia says that she also recently met up with the girls. And Angel, with some of the girls, and Angel was there. And Angel had expressed her issue with Wendy and how she didn't like the way Wendy treated her on the trip. Now, as much as I dislike Wendy does make a good point in saying that Angel does seem to have all the smoke for her specifically, and not really for the one who actually came after her for real. So that's a good point, but made by Wendy. All right, so then it is time for the party. It was a small party, but I thought it was cute. The people came dressed nicely. Charrisse was there, and everybody's arriving, greeting each other, congratulating Gizelle. Tia's husband came in telling Gizelle that he had an idea for a podcast. Okay. And then Angel makes her way to Gizelle, and she says, I want to know how we can get to know each other better. You've apologized, and we can move on, but I haven't really addressed Wendy's part in it all. She co-signed you calling me a catfish, and I feel like it's an example of our interactions devolving into a mercurial nature. Gizelle was just kind of like, huh? Okay, well, whatever that means. Yeah, Angel. This is the problem with Angel. I like Angel, but she has delayed reactions, and she'll sleep on it and feel a different way on a different day. It's a little weird, and it's kind of hard to catch up on with. Yeah, Angel's not really doing herself any favors with all of this. Wale from the Love Hotel came to this party, and I hated how Ashley was expecting him to come after her, or maybe flirt with her, whatever. Her ego got so hurt that he ignored her. But again, I don't know if y'all saw the Love Hotel, but in case y'all didn't, to sum it all up, Ashley played this poor man the entire season only to dump him. So for her to expect he was going to come in to give her flowers was crazy. I can't with Ashley. So everybody's there. By the way, I gotta say, Wendy was rocking the short hairstyle that she had this episode. It was waves. Vivian was there. There was a bit of awkwardness with Vivian and Stacey. Stacey was being a little fake though, because she was saying hi to Vivian and touching her hair. Gizelle then gets the mic, and everyone's sort of asking themselves, where the hell is Robyn? Also, Cookie arrives. So then Tia wants to talk to Stacey wants to talk to Tia and Wendy. Stacey says to Tia, so when I talk, I want to talk about what happened last night. I want to rehash what happened last night. So she says to Tia, I feel like when I talk to you on your own, it's one way, but when we are in the group, it's another way. So that's when Tia pops off, and she says, look, when I met you, I had heard a lot about you, but I wanted to get to know you. I want to know how you move. I left my house at 5 a.m. to meet you, your husband, and your daughter because I am, or should I say, I was interested in having a friendship with you. When I was there, I invited you to dinner. And then Stacey interrupts her and she's like, well, you invited my husband to dinner and he politely declined. And Tia's like, yes. And he said that he was flying out the evening of the dinner and that's why he couldn't make it. And then Stacey's like, oh, well, no, he was actually flying out Wednesday evening. Stacey says, the problem with you, and then Tia's like, no, there is no problem with me. Everyone who knows you calls you a liar. I gave you the benefit of the doubt. Don't let the accent fool you. And as Tia is going off, Stacy starts clapping in her face, saying, "Bravo, you showed up," which was kind of rude. I was definitely Team Tia. But then here go Keiarna. Here go Kay. Now this made me flip to Stacy's side of the whole thing, because I'm on Stacy's side on this. So Kay just wants a moment. So she's like, well, let's talk about showing up. The other day, Mo'Nique showed up and she shared her healing journey with us. And not long after that, Chris called Cookie to tell him that Stacy had told him that Mo'Nique was trashing him and talking about how he treated her like a piece of meat and having sex. And then Stacy's like, what are you talking about? And Wendy says, how do you know? She says to Keiarna, how do you know this? How do you know it was her? And Kay says, oh, I know it was her. And Cookie is right here. So then Cookie makes her way. And she says to Stacy, you called him and told him, don't stand here and act stupid with me. And then Wendy's like, I gotta be honest with all y'all. I'm very uncomfortable right now because when I met with Mo'Nique, she told me that Cookie trashes her. And if we're going to talk about Mo'Nique, I think it's only fair for Mo'Nique to be here. So then Stacy starts pointing her finger at Cookie. And Cookie says, don't point your finger at me. But Stacy kept doing it. And matter of fact, she started to get closer to Cookie, which I don't recommend doing that. I get that maybe it's a sign of being like, I'm not scared of you. But season 5 of this exact show, do we really need to repeat history trying to prove something? No. Don't do it. It's called antagonizing somebody. Luckily, somebody got Cookie and removed her from the situation because she looked like she was getting ready to like do something. She was very upset at Stacy. But anyway, Cookie is removed, but Kay is still going off on Stacy, and Stacy's cooking her. She's like, you always have this energy with me, only with me. You're always on a 0, but right now you're like at a 2. And then Kay's like, your character is flawed, and I would never trust you around my husband. And then Stacy says, you don't have one. Oh my gosh. I'm telling y'all, Potomac is taking it. And that was the end of the episode. This episode gets a 10 out of 10 for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. And they just bring in the drama, you guys. And it feels natural. It doesn't feel too forced. I really enjoyed this episode. And I thought it was great. I'm looking forward to what's to come this season. I just can't wait. But yeah, it was a great episode. And I think that, me being with Stacy on some things or not on some others, I think that shows my impartiality. Like I don't go, I'm not on someone's side based on who they are. Like I go based on the situations. So on the Kay situation, I'm with Stacy. Kay is doing too much, coming for her constantly, having all this energy towards her. But when it comes to Tia, I'm with Tia because Tia didn't do anything malicious, anything bad, and she does have a point. Stacy does have an issue with the truth. In other words, she's a liar, which it didn't really bother me her first season. But then again, we got to remember somebody like Mia. It starts with the little lies, and then it turns into the paternity of a child. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think we gotta be careful. I know Stacy's a fan favorite, and I get why, but she has been doing a little bit too much lying. So I'm glad Tia called her out on that. But you guys, let me know what your thoughts were about this episode. Did you enjoy it as well? And if so, whose side were you on, Tia or Stacy's? And then what you think about the whole Cookie situation, coming in, telling Kay what Chris heard about Mo'Nique. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.